record. So again, you guys hopefully have your homework next to you. I'm going to spend most of the class, whatever we are together, going over any questions that you have. Here in just a couple minutes, I'm not going to be I'm not going to be quite as helpful in doing your homework with you guys tonight. So typically tomorrow would be a full quiz. Instead of giving you the quiz, I'm just going to give you guys time to work on this, iron it out, and you guys can ask some individual questions. But tonight, we're going to start by going over last night's homework. So let me go ahead and share the screen. I will pull up the worksheet. So you had 65 through 91 odds. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to give you guys as much time as you need to ask any questions that you may have. So what questions, what do you want to see? What do you want ironed out? What can I help you with?
Number 89.
Number 89. All right. So again, I'm going to ask you here in just a second to read that off. Let me find a blank space up here. All right, so number 89. What did 89 say?
X squared y minus 16y plus 32 minus 2y squared.
Minus 2y squared. Okay. So the very first thing I want you guys to look at, remember, you can reorganize this however you want. So the only challenge, or the biggest challenge with this, is to see, well, what should I put together? If I'm looking at these two, my common factor is this. I would have y, and then I'd have x squared minus 16. Okay. Well, man, I'm really close, but out here, if I'm trying to get x squared minus 16, this one does not have an x squared. What could I pull out? I could pull out a 2. In fact, I could rewrite these as negative 2y squared plus 32. If I pull out a positive 2, or I'm sorry, a negative 2. If I pull out a negative 2, I would be left with y squared minus 16. If these are not exactly the same.
I had a question.
Yeah, about this one, go ahead.
Yeah, on the worksheet, it says 2x squared for 89.
X squared, not 2y squared. So that's a major difference. So does it say 2x squared right here?
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, yeah, let's go ahead and look at this again. So I can group this here, and if that's a 2x squared minus 2x squared, I just reordered this. And you can rewrite it again, because that negative 2x squared, because it's negative, when I change the order, it stays negative, the 32 stays positive. So if I pull out a negative 2, now I'm left with not a y squared here, but an x squared minus 16. Are these two now the same? Well, the answer is yes. So that's your first step. By the way, at this point last year and historically, I have people that are still, when they're writing their answer, they're writing this twice. You only write that common, the common grouping, you only write it once. But I'm still not finished. Why am I not finished?
The difference of squares.
Exactly, good, Tate. So perfect square minus a perfect square. So x plus 4, x minus 4. And that's your final answer. Okay? The order of any of this stuff does not matter. So if you wrote the x plus 4, x minus 4 first and the y minus 2 over here, that's fine. You put the x minus 4 here and the x plus 4, that's fine. Because multiplication is commutative, which means I can change the order. 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. Other questions?
Number 73.
Okay. And what does it say?
2x cubed minus 2x minus 112.
So it says 2x cubed minus 2x minus 112. Am I missing anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. And this is a 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. So the very first thing I want to do is look to pull out a common factor. I pull out a 2, and I'm left with x cubed minus 1x minus 56. Now, if this is what the entire sheet says, if that's the entire question, the thing is, we are finished. You cannot do anything else to this because this is x cubed. I don't have 4 terms here, so I can't even look to factor this by group.
It's squared.
It was squared?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's kind of what I thought. So I looked over it last night, and I didn't think there was anything that was overly tricky, but I could have missed something. If it's x squared, now I have to, so same type of thing, now I have to go through and see, because this is squared, by the way, in general, and we'll talk about this later on when we get there. But if you have a trinomial and you can't pull out a common factor anymore, you only have to check to see if it's factorable if this middle term, the exponent, is exactly half of this one. So for instance, if this is x squared, the only way this would be factorable is if this is x to the first, which it is. If this was x to the fourth, the only way it would be factorable is if this is x squared. So if this were x to the third, and that's x to the first, it would not be factorable. Again, that's getting kind of mathy and in general, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So let's go ahead and make the signs. Because my second sign's a minus, my signs have to be opposites. My factors for x squared. And my factors of 56, again, when I say factors, it's 2 numbers that multiply to equal 56 that subtract and equal 1, or -1 in this case. Well, 8 times 7 is 56, and I want it to be -1, right? Well, 8 minus 7 is +1, so it has to be 7 minus 8, that's -1, and that's your entire answer. Questions? Okay. Anything else you want to see from last night's homework?
Can you do 91?
Sure. What's it say?
2x cubed.
Okay.
Minus 8a squared x plus 24x squared.
Okay.
Plus 72x.
All right. So did I write that correctly? Can somebody else verify that I wrote that exactly as he said it?
It's right.
Okay. First rule of factoring, always, always, always is what?
A common factor. I'm gonna pull out the x.
And pull out a 2. So always look for the greatest common factor. That a lot of times, especially when you guys are just starting to get good at this and you see 4 terms, most people right away went into factoring by grouping, which is fine. You should have, but you want to always pull out the greatest common factor first. Now, technically, you don't have to, but it's going to make your life a lot easier. Now that I've done that, I'm left with this. Is that right? And this was 8a squared, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's look at this again. So right away, I know my answer in prime because I had to pull out the greatest common factor. I have 4 terms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I look to factor by grouping. One thing that tells me that I cannot do that is the fact that this term has an a and an a squared, and there's nothing else that has an a. Unless I missed it, there's nothing else that has an a. Now, if that's the case, then this part right here would be prime. In other words, I can't factor any further, so this would be my entire answer. Now, I didn't miss an a anywhere up here, did I?
If we just wrote prime instead of that answer, is it wrong, or
Yeah, that would be wrong. And Tate, why is it not prime? For what reason?
because you were able to take the 2x out?
Exactly. So this is not prime. So 2x cubed minus 8a squared x, so on and so forth, that's not prime because I was able to factor it. This quantity right here, now that's prime, but I would never just say prime because I've already factored the original problem, okay? So that's it. That's the answer and you're done. Any other questions that you guys have from last night's homework?
Could you do 65?
Sure, what's it say?
3x cubed minus 3x.
Okay, so GCF. Now, whenever I'm pulling out the greatest common factor, remember you are dividing all of those terms by that. So 3x divided by 3x is 1. But then look at your quadratic quantity. Is that a difference of squares? And it is. Perfect square minus a perfect square. Questions? Okay. Anything else you want to see?
We don't have a
Sorry, Michael, you cut out. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. Michael, I heard you start talking, then you went back on mute.
my bad. I said we don't have a quiz anytime soon, do we?
No, in fact, and you guys, you should take a little comfort in this as of right now. Now, this could change next week, but I'm telling you, I'll give you at least a week heads up. As of right now, your tests, all of your tests and all of your quizzes have been temporarily suspended, which means we don't have any planned until we figure out a better way to actually do that and assess. Okay? So, yeah.
Does that include homework checks?
Now your homework checks, your homework right now is 100% of your grade. So if you look in the grade book, it's empty right now. Your first grade is going to be on Friday. But I might start doing a homework check twice a week. Like this, I will always give you guys a chance to ask questions. I'm not trying to get you. there's a couple things, and obviously, and you guys, I haven't collected anything or asked you guys to really show me anything yet. And we're going to do that tomorrow. But in one of my Algebra 2 classes, I have one class of 28, and I had 7 people not do the homework. 7. That means those 7 people right now, and their grade is 100% homework, 7 have a 0 out of 16. That's not good. And it's hard to kind of bounce back from that. They're not crashed yet, but make sure you're doing this every single night. Make sure that you guys ask questions.
I have okay, so do you allow like to redo the homework if like or anything like if we were to mess up on it? Like do we get it?
So with your homework check, simple question is, or simple answer is I don't. And here's why. So we've really only had one homework, which is that whole worksheet, right? And you guys see, I've walked you through about 90% of that homework. I literally only think there's 2 or 3 problems that we didn't do. So you have all of the answers, and that's why what I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a little bit more on you. Make sure that you write these down. Make sure you do your homework, and when you don't understand something, ask questions. So I can't, and this is a whole department thing, we don't allow corrections, especially with this online learning part, because this is 100% of your grade. In other words, then everybody would end up with 100% A. Okay, and it's not like we don't want that. We just want it to be earned instead of, oh, well, they did everything 2 or 3 times. Okay, so you should, what's going to happen tomorrow? Let me do this real quick. Sorry, give me a second. All right, so I just got back on Canvas, and what I want you guys to see. So this is really your only homework. I'm just gonna pick 2 or 3 from this one. All right, and I'm gonna pick, here's tonight's assignment, and I'm gonna pick 2 or 3 from this one. So it says quiz at the, oh, it doesn't even say quiz anymore. Used to say quiz at the top. It's called Factoring Quiz 2. This is not a quiz, but unlike yesterday and today, I'm not going to sit here and just go through and give you guys all the answers. So there's a couple things that are tricky, but you now have the rest of the class to sit here and work on this. And I will check your answers. And by checking your answer, usually in class, I would walk around and I'd go through and help you out with this. But basically, I'm going to stay on here. And when you have a specific question, you can ask about it. And I'll write something similar, but I'm not going to write the same question. So I do kind of want to check and see, are you getting this or are you not? Because again, starting next week, you're going to have to know all of this stuff. And it's going to be really difficult for us to move on, or for you guys to move on, if you don't know how to factor, okay? So take a few minutes, pull that up, go ahead and get started. And again, I would call this, if I were you, I would call this worksheet number 2. So you have 2 assignments. You have worksheet 1 and worksheet 2. So tomorrow, you guys are going to come in here, and I'm going to walk you through this. You're going to click assignments, and you'll see assignment, and it's going to say homework check. In fact, I could do part of this right now. It's going to say homework check. Oh, I clicked that. Number 1. So homework check number 1, and I'm going to say write these whatever problems on here. And you are either going to do it, actually, I don't want that. You're going to do a file upload so I can see all of your work, okay? You only get to do it once. Assign to everyone. The available at 12 a.m. We're gonna make it, let's see. What time does class start? 10:10. Oh. And it's gonna end. There you go. Hold on. Ugh, I thought I clicked that. There it is. Why did it do it again? There it is. All right. So that's how we're going to do this tomorrow. I obviously didn't put the ones that we're going to do it in, but there you go. All right. Let me go back to this. So home, class resources. You only have 12 questions to do tonight. This whole worksheet. I think it's just 12. Yeah. All right. You have the rest of the period to get this done. If you don't want my help, if you got this and you just want to do it on your own, that's fine. You can go ahead and log off. Make sure you said hi or something in the chat. Everybody else, I'm going to stay on until class is over. So 10:55, another 20 minutes to help. All right.
So you can't just put it on like a Google Doc or something. Like you can't take a picture and put it like on a doc.
No, and there's a couple reasons. So I can't do a Google Doc for one reason, because then I'd either have to make it completely public, or I'd have to have your email address and go back and forth with the email address, and that creates its own issues. But if you have a phone or your computer, you should be able to take a screenshot of your work, and that's all I need.
Okay, so just take a picture of it and
Yep.
file upload.
That's right, and then file upload. That's exactly right. And I'll walk you through that tomorrow, Larry.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.